So by now you all know that the Doctor Who Christmas special has been cancelled and that the show itself is in a pretty uncertain spot at the moment despite a bit of a positive spin by the BBC. But what actually is next for Doctor Who? It's a big question, the hot question on everyone's lips. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit today. Let's get into it. So as I said, the main point of today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's next, but I'm also going to do my reaction and talk through how I feel about the announcement and just how I feel about everything to do with it at the moment. There's a lot going on. It's all very interesting and weird and I was going to say weird and wonderful times, but wonderful is probably not the word, depending on who you are. Russell seems to be feeling wonderful, but as I said, solo pod today. Connor and I don't really have any schedules that aligned, and I didn't want... We have our usual podcast coming out on Sunday, and there's obviously no mention in it of the cancellation because we'd already recorded it on Tuesday. So I wanted to get my thoughts out there now, and Connor said he might do a live stream as well to possibly talk about how he feels about it. It's, there's so much to say, but also so little at the same time. It's just weird. I wanted to hold off making this take as well because Connor and I have a great habit of being really reactive.
What a load of shit! We've lost it. I'm losing my fucking mind! I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. But I thought it fucking sucked.
So guys, this is our review of Dot and Bubble.
Can you tell?
Welcome. I loved it.
Really?
Nope.
Oh, I believed you for a second.
I got you.
I actually believed you.
No, this was bad. This was bad. What the fuck did I just watch? What did I watch, Connor?
I hate life.
And I just thought, this one time I might hold off the upload button and not be reactive straight on the night and feeling the emotions as it happens. So I had obviously the day to think about it. And you know what? My general feeling, before I go into, proper thoughts, but my general feeling, it actually has weighed on me a little bit, which I find really weird. Didn't think I'd be a little sad boy when Doctor Who gets cancelled, but here I am. I'm not having a cry, not sooking around, but today it was one of those things on the back of my mind. It's like when you have a fight with someone and then you go to work, and whilst you're at work, just in like the back of your brain, you're just like, shit, damn, just lingering in the back the whole time. So I would have loved my TV movie Steelbook to come today because I'm still waiting on that one, being in bloody Australia land, but that might have put a bit of a pep in my step, but currently still waiting on that and currently still feeling a little bit sad. I don't feel as angry. A lot of people have been angry and there's been a lot of anger put towards Russell, and I'll say I do understand why, and I think everyone's entitled to feel that way, and I will talk about my opinion on that stuff as I get into it. But I think I felt some frustration over the lie last night, and then today I'm just kind of like, well, here we are, sort of in the same place as we were before, because for months we've been like, is this special happening? And if it's not happening, what's going to happen? And it's going to be a long time before we start to really put together what the future of the show looks like. And again, I'm going to talk about that timeline in a little bit. All right, so enough stalling. Here is my thoughts on the press release. So I won't read it because we've all read it and we've all watched 10 people reviewing it and breaking it down online. But my general things, obviously the two main takeaways is no Christmas special, which and they've effectively cancelled the show. The show's not cancelled. The Christmas special's cancelled, but the show currently doesn't have a future. It will have a future, but it currently doesn't. And the reason I guess I'm a little bit more, it's going to be a while before we see Doctor Who than some other people, is because every single time we get one of these press releases, they always have to spin it that the future of the show is bright and things like that. Of course they are. They're trying to bloody sell the rights to make the show. So all of those lines, like the TARDIS will land once more, kind of means nothing to me. It's not really a practical thing. I understand why it's all in there. But so no Christmas special, the show being sort of somewhat off the air for the next few years or foreseeable future. I think it's the right move. as much as it hurts me, and I'm super OCD, and so not finding out what bullshit thing Russell was cooking for Billy Piper, if he even had a bullshit thing there, the fact that we don't have that, I am a little frustrated. Would have loved just a 60, 90-minute special just to round off that bullshit. It would have been horrible. It would be the worst episode of Doctor Who ever. But fuck, at least it's then just done. Whereas now we're still in this weird spot where it's just hanging. It's just hanging. And it's never going to be addressed. A lot of people have been sort of frustrated because they're like, oh, how's a new showrunner supposed to pick up from there? They will not. No one, especially a completely new production company that comes in to run the show, no one is picking up from that. This will be, and it has to be, and I think the BBC know this, I just feel it, that when Doctor Who comes back, it will be the freshest start we've had since Rose. Woman Who Fell to Earth was a pretty decent fresh start. You know, some of the episodes were up and down that season, but in terms of a fresh start, that could have got a lot of people on board, had maybe some of the scripts been a little bit better. It did a really good job at refreshing things and keeping the cameos and the references to really, really small stuff that doesn't, you know, confuse any new viewers. So we will get the newest fresh start possible, and I've just got a feeling that's what the BBC is looking for. And if they weren't, if that wasn't the case, then I think they would have been continuing with this Disney, well, not with Disney, but this Bad Wolf era of the show. So whilst I think it's the right move, I'm also still sad. We're not going to have Doctor Who for a long while. Love having that show. It makes having new episodes of a show makes the old episodes feel more relevant. Do you know what I mean? Like in 10 years' time, will I still be watching the old episodes of Doctor Who as I am, as much as I am now? You know? Food for thought. I really respect the fact that the press release actually said, we are cancelling the special and here's why. And their reasoning, which differs to Russell's reasoning, but the reasoning being to focus on the future. And, you know, if they'd committed, you know, they can get a tender out this year. Whereas if they hadn't, they'd have to wait to next year to tender the show, which is, it's just prolonging it. And I think that's what some people were frustrated about as well. It felt like we were going into the most prolonged finale to an era that was already dead had the Christmas special gone ahead. So that I'm okay with. I'm okay with that. It makes sense. And I respect the fact that the press release acknowledged their reason to it. Their reason, at least. We'll get to Russell in a second. We're building. Let it cook. So the show being tendered. What does this mean? We don't fully know, I suppose. But essentially, someone else is going to buy the rights to be involved with Doctor Who. And that could be an Amazon or an Apple or something like that. But I'd be more leaning towards it being a show like... I'm leading more towards it being a little production company, like an equivalent of Bad Wolf. I think you're going to see little, not small, but, you know, those mid-tier production studios coming in and pitching for the show. And they will then, you know, sort out alongside BBC the distribution of the show to future streamers, even if it ends up on Prime or Stan or whatever. They just might not. I don't see a big streamer being involved in the actual creation of the show, just the distribution. So I think they're going to be tendering it for a mid-scale production company to come in and make the show like Russell and Bad Wolf did, along with Disney. But it's like that, but without Disney. I butchered that. Never mind. That's just my thoughts, at least. I don't know if that's going to happen. But that's what I feel like what's going to happen, and I feel like that's the best thing to happen. The less cooks we can have in the kitchen, the better. I personally don't want another big streamer coming in. I'd rather a production company with a strong vision coming in and pitching it. And I think I saw a few people online being like, are people really going to pitch for this after the mess that Russell's left? Yes, they're going to pitch for it. They so will, because if they get it right, it'll be excellent. I can imagine there will be some questions. Some people will be like, oh shit, what are we going to do here, guys? It's kind of been a bit fucking shit for the last 5 or 6 years, hasn't it? Yeah. There comes a great risk with doing it, but I think there will be plenty of people pitching for it in various different capacities. It's just whether or not they can afford it, I suppose, but that's another question and something that I'm not qualified enough to talk to. The other last thing I want to say on the statement is no Russell TD statement within the BBC statement. You know, I find that kind of interesting. Is it? Because they're essentially parted ways. So would it be weird for Russell to have a statement in their press release? I just feel like how talkative Russell is and how open to that stuff. If they were on good terms, would he not have a statement be in the press release saying, oh yes, we've absolutely decided to part ways. I've got goosebumps, but it was a joyous 26 years. And you know, you feel like maybe, or if it wasn't Russell, because, you know, whatever, maybe Bad Wolf would put a statement out. Maybe, I don't know. It's not like Disney put a statement out when they pulled from Doctor Who. So maybe that's just not how that works, and I'm thinking into it too much. But I feel a little bit of bad blood there, but maybe not. But that's a good natural transition into Russell T. Davies' comment. What the fuck was that about? Russell didn't have a comment in the press release, but he jumped on Instagram and did a post with a cute little TARDIS graphic that he'd drawn. Fuck it, I'll read it because there's so much just weird and random shit to talk about in this, okay? So Russell says, and so goodbye from me to Doctor Who, but a hello to a big new future for the show, as the BBC announces it's putting the show out to tender. As a result, there won't be a Christmas special. We only cooked that up to guarantee a future when no one knew what would happen. But now we do know. There's no need for it. You'll have to wait a bit longer for new Doctor Who. But you'll be waiting for more Doctor Who than a one-off, so it's worth it. For the record, there was no script, I never wrote it, and no actor was ever approached to play the next Doctor. You may disagree, fine, sit in that chair and wait to be proved right. You'll wait a long time. Okay, pause. So, hey, I said this felt like damage. I'll say it now. This feels like damage control. It feels like, you know, the BBC's put out their press release and now Russell feels a little bit like, you know, like, I just don't believe this one bit. And there may be some truth about it. Perhaps for a long time, Russell's thought the special wasn't happening. I believe the fact that maybe there was never a script written. But I don't believe the fact that in October last year, when that press release for the Christmas special announcement came out, I don't believe that there was never a plan to make a Christmas special. That is the biggest piece of bullshit I've ever read in my entire life. And I read a lot of bullshit. I read a lot of Russell T. Davies' posts on Instagram. And I love Russell. He's made some of the best Doctor Who that will go down with me forever. He's made some of the most fantastic TV shows ever. I haven't seen Tiptoe yet. Keen to watch that. It will hopefully restore a bit of faith in me with Russell since bloody reading this thing. But this is just it's another one of those things, you know. Watching Doctor Who over the last 3-4 years has felt like Russell just makes a bad episode of TV and then it's our fault. You know, like he puts up some shit like this, like we're the fools for thinking there was going to be a Christmas special. We're the fools for trusting him that there was going to be a Christmas special. And it's like, why you got to have just this petty little twist in there? Can't you? You're 60 plus years old. You bloody posted about AI, Instagram, Doctor Who videos, something my parents do. And my parents wouldn't put this up. It feels like the most, like, immature thing that you could post, because even if what he's saying is completely true, it's just written with a tone that just makes me want to smack my head into a wall. You may disagree. Fuck. Christ on a bike. So there's the petty tone. There's the fact that there was never a script. Okay, I don't believe it because it's written. This is by the same team that gave us the whole shooty. It was always a 2-season plan. It wasn't a fucking 2-season plan. We know that. So why am I supposed to believe this random ass Instagram post from Russell? And if it was never going to happen, why did they add Billie Piper into the reality war? There had to have been some idea. Like, I understand it was a stunt at the end to, you know, get a bit of buzz, generate some content. But you don't do that without at least just having a thought of where this can go. You don't have to map it out or know why it's happened. But Russell would have at least had a thought of, all right, this is what we're going to do. And then for him to say, no doctor was ever asked to be in the episode. Okay, maybe no. What was the exact thing he said? No actor was ever approached to play the next Doctor. Okay, that's very possibly true and very specific wording, but was Billy Piper and David Tennant asked to reprise their roles, their previous roles, not the next Doctor, but their previous roles? Because they've got to have been right for it to have gotten to this point. They've got to have been. My theory is that Bad Wolf wanted to make the special, but the BBC read the room a little bit better, and they decided, new direction, this is where we're going to go. We're going to put the show out for tender, and it left RTD like feeling like a fool, and now he's in damage control, like the Ncuti season 2 thing, which wasn't on Ncuti. I'm not saying that he was on damage control. I think the whole production was on damage control when they put out that video of Ncuti saying it was always a plan to do 2 seasons. So yeah, and like it's probably not that black and white for me, but I do think Bad Wolf wanted to make the special, and whether or not the BBC got cold feet because they were struggling to get casting, or that the idea was crazy and not great, or for whatever reason the BBC's pulled out. New direction without Russell and the gang, and now RTD looks like a fool. That's my theory. I do have this analogy that I've used a lot of the time with the show, and it's like supporting a long-running show like this, whether it's your Star Trek or The Simpsons, or for us it's Doctor Who. I always like to treat the showrunner as a bit of the manager of a football team or the coach of a football team, because it's like you're going to get so many new visions and directors and showrunners that will come in across the run. And I think they come in, they try to do their thing, and if it works, fucking excellent. Like, let's do 4 or 5 seasons of this, 6 seasons if you're Stephen Moffat. If it doesn't work, yeah, they get a little bit sacked. And, we want to root for the show, but it's okay for us to voice our opinions and disgruntlement with the current person in charge of the show and the direction if they're not doing a good job. And I don't think they did a good job. I think it was a really rough era with some nice highlights in it, but no highlight was ever close to the highlights of the first 10 seasons of Doctor Who. And some of them were perfect. Not many of those seasons were perfect. They had a lot of lows within those first 10 seasons, but the highs were always that great. Like, season 10 has a vibe to it and finales that make you think season 10's great. Probably not that great. There's some rough episodes in there. A lot of the episodes don't have a lot of sauce, but it's the highs of the relationships between the Doctor and Nardole and Bill Potts, and it's what it's all building to in that finale. That's what makes you love it. But I don't think any part of RTD2 ever gave us anything that high. The closest things would be Wild Blue Yonder and 73 Yards, and even them, I don't think they are close to the top of RTD1. I think they are the best Doctor Who we've had since Series 10, but I don't think they're anywhere near the best of what we'd had in the past. Anyways, I don't want to sit here and bitch and moan about RTD, but the new manager's gone. The previous manager is gone. Russell's out the door, and now we're in that spot where the footy team, they're trying to elect who's going to be the new manager. What sort of rebuild are we going to do? That's where we're at now. It's just a little bit more different and uncertain because sporting teams will always continue on. Doctor Who might not. Anyways, to close it out, just think RTD needs to go away for a little while, and that's okay. Just don't. Well, I basically heard everyone in their reaction videos say, I don't need to hear from Russell T Davies again. And there's no bad blood on him. He's just got this aura about him in 2020. In the 2020s, he's had this aura about him whenever he talks about Doctor Who. And it's proper shove some chopsticks in my eyes and hold a gun up and shoot it next to my ears so I can't hear anything. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. But the juicy stuff, what you all probably came here for, if you're still listening at this point of this rabble of a solo podcast, what's next for Doctor Who? The real answer is I don't bloody know. I'm not running the show at BBC. I'm not in a position to pitch for it. Maybe we should all do like a GoFundMe to get us all around it, and we all buy Doctor Who We all buy Doctor Who, and then we can elect Crispy as showrunner, and we can all be like, yeah, Crispy, do this, do that. And then Crispy finally gets to be showrunner, and we all own it as a collective 50% fan base. What a shit idea. Okay, so what's next for Doctor Who? I think the timeline is... I think everyone's a bit optimistic about the timeline. People quite often are saying 2028 on Twitter. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the tender process and everything like that will take much longer than we think. It's the tender for the CBBS animation, which they've confirmed is still going ahead, which is awesome. Weird that that's going to be the only Doctor Who we're going to be seeing for a while, and Connor and I will probably do some form of review for it, which is bizarre. So the tender process, it's not even started yet. They've got to put together what that tender looks like. I would predict we'd hear about that in the second half of the year. I reckon like August to October, we'll get an announcement, or even we might not even get an announcement. It might just be like we just see online that the tender's open for pitches and submissions. And then I suspect that there will be like a 3-month, 4-month period where that's open and people are talking about it. I reckon we won't hear that it's locked in until like 8 or 9 months after the tender's open. So I reckon like not this time next year. I reckon March to June next year. Sure. Then maybe that's when we'll know who the new Bad Wolf is, or Amazon or whatever. That's what I think. I reckon there's going to be about a 9-month wait for that. And then from that point, they've got to figure out what that new direction is. They've got to lock that in. So it's coming up with a new direction, but it's also coming up with, if they are going to try and get Bad Wolf, Bad Wolf 2, let's say, the new Bad Wolf that comes in to run the show, are they going to try and find a Disney to partner up with? If they don't already have a big streamer attached, are they going to find someone to partner up with and make the show? And then that deal is going to take a few months to sort out. And then you're looking at the back end of 2027 before they've even put pen to paper. Because then once that deal's happened, you're going to be looking at, 4 to 6 months of pre-production, I'd say, at least. Maybe, yeah, does that sound about right? I wouldn't be surprised if mid-2028 is when they start filming. And then you're looking for like a mid-2029 return of the show. I think that's a healthy gap. And I think that's quite optimistic. B, I think that's a healthy gap where the show has technically not been on the air since last year. We're already a year into the Wilderness Years 2, Electric Boogaloo. And so to 2029, that gives us a 4-year gap, which I think is healthy enough. I don't want it to go longer than that because I want more Doctor Who. But I'd understand if people would want more of a 5 or 6 year gap to feel a bit more refreshed with the show. But I reckon a 4-year gap will do pretty good, and the general public will be sort of on board with a new... That it's a fresh start, because every fresh start they've done has never felt like a fresh start, because it's always come a year after a previous season or 6 months after a previous season. I think the general public has never had a chance to reset, because no one I know watches this show anymore. Anyone that did watch the show will tell me how terrible Doctor Who is now. And that sucks, but it is what it is. And so we really need to get to we need this new rebuild, new reboot needs to feel like a reboot. I don't want them to start from Doctor 1, but I want them to start from a point where you do not have to watch anything. And we've said this a million times in this podcast. It needs to be a reboot like Series 1. It's a continuation of Series 1, like Series 1 2005. It's a continuation with the same character, with the same backstory, but maybe we can give them a fresh little backstory like we added in the Time War. But most importantly, we can just pick up with that character halfway through where they are in life in 100 years' time. The Billy Piper stuff was in the past. They're never going to touch that, and we definitely shouldn't touch that. That could be Big Finish's project over the next 4 years. It will be the freshest start, I can imagine. RTD sort of promised that with the Disney era, and we definitely never got that, considering his first episode featured the 14th Doctor and Donna. But hey, again, don't want to sit here and complain about RTD anymore. I'm kind of done with that. The new creative team for me has to be completely new. I don't want a single returning writer for the first season at least. Season 2, you could bring on like a Sarah Dollard or something like that. I'm kind of breaking my own rules here. because I wouldn't mind a female showrunner as a completely new perspective, if it was a Sarah Dollard, I'd be open to that. But I think my ultimate preference would be someone that's come in and has never touched Doctor Who before. Never before. Ideally, directors that have never touched Doctor Who before. Everything about it, I want to be completely new. And I think the most exciting part about that, this was such a small thing for me, but when I saw that Andy Pryor, who has been the main casting person for the entire show post-2005, when they did their post to officially confirm that they were stepping away from Doctor Who, I genuinely felt like, okay, the new direction we go in is going to be the newest possible. The casting is going to be new. And, Andy Pryor's done an excellent job. And, casting isn't the number one thing. The casting director isn't the number one thing you have to change when you want to shake up the show, by no means. But for me, it's a statement of intent of this new era is completely new. I don't want a production designer that's worked on the show before. Composer has to be new. The Welsh crew of the cameras, the camera assistants and the gaffers and, the editors and things, I'm happy for them to all stay involved and get work because that's so important. But in terms of those bigger roles, those head of departments, I want them to be completely fresh. And I don't think I'm alone in wanting that. And I think that's what the show really needs. But most importantly, what the show really needs is a showrunner who can shut the fuck up. A showrunner. We didn't know how good we had it with Chris Chibnall. When Chris Chibnall was on the scene, oh boy, we were like, why does this boy not talk? Why don't we see any interviews or anything from him? Granted, I guess I'd like the show to have a bit more presence than it did in the Chibnall era. We'd get trailers 2 weeks out and like 1 5-minute BTS video at the end of each episode coming out. I like a bit more than that. But I want a showrunner that doesn't have to post 3 paragraphs when they post a new episode, and for it to be 78 short sentences with 8 things in capital letters. We get it, you're a writer, but you're posting a fucking Instagram post. You're not writing a novel, bro. I just need the freshest of starts. The freshest of starts with a showrunner that is there to do the work. And they are not the fixer of Doctor Who. They are there to make a good TV show. That's what I want. Yeah, sorry. I feel like that got a little bit more hated towards Russell than I wanted, but that's maybe just some of my frustration seeping through. Like I said, Russell has done some amazing things and has stood up for amazing things in life. So I don't hate that man. I just need a break from him. I just need to start again. Give me Chris Chibnall too. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Anyways, we'll be back with another podcast this weekend. How lucky for you guys. And it's not just me rambling. You'll have Connor with me doing our same old shit. Talking about the Craves of Androzani. We also do our predictions of what this announcement was, which is going to be quite funny, I guess, in retrospect. Now we all know what the announcement is. But stick around for that one next Sunday. This Sunday, in like 3 days' time. It'll be a blast. You won't regret it. We'll see you then. Love you long time. And you know what? Let's all just stick together. There's been some good memes online about all this stuff. Let's keep doing that. Let's have a laugh. Let's hold hands and clap our cheeks. Oof. And just have a good time with Doctor Who. What the fuck?